what's going on, everybody, and thanks for joining me again. We got a very special episode. I know it's been a little bit of a hiatus, but, with finals and everything, but winter break is here, and it's time to bring in the new year. I got a real special friend, somebody I've grown up with and got to spend a lot of good times with. So, Steve Jaramillo, thank you for joining me on this great day back in Cleveland.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, dude, I couldn't be more excited to have you here with me. So, the way we're going to go into this episode today, we can't avoid not talking about the impeachment, so that'll be the topic of the day. But first, we have 3 articles picked here. We're going to go through those 3 articles, and then Steve was able to give us a good foundation for our final thoughts, wrapping it up, for a conversation on how to bring in the new year and kind of just a moment of reflection and kind of building some perspective. So actually, we only got 2 articles. So we do have 3. The first article we're going to start off with is, Steve, I want to get your opinion. Again, I know I say this every time I go to bring him into the podcast. This is a damn shame, because every time I go, this will be the last time we talk about him. I promise. But somehow this nut job, Antonio Brown, weasels his way into our conversation. But the headline is, AB's back in business, working out for the Saints. You said you heard about this. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
What?
What?
Don't really know what to say. I mean, with the season coming to the end and everything like that, why now? Like, you're the Saints. Like, are you just trying to not have another Minneapolis Miracle? The refs coming out about. You have,
Michael Thomas
right.
And Kamara.
Like, hey, we just got the best wide receiver in the NFL of history of catching the ball. So, you know what? Let's just bring in Antonio Brown, who has so much bad blood on him right now. But it is at the end of the season.
Right.
All the bad blood was in the beginning of the season. And so, I mean, maybe they're just, let's see what happens. Maybe this is for next year.
And the bad blood was mainly because he didn't like the team he was on, and he was trying to figure out a way out of it. The way he figured out was to create chaos, so they conduct detrimental to the team, they boot him, and what's even crazier is, Tom Brady did say, we shouldn't have cut him. Tom didn't want him cut. And that first game on the Patriots, he had a great showing. And what was the reason they cut him, though?
Well, with the situations of the news coming out with all that information about whatever may or may not have happened, like, we don't know what actually happened.
Right.
Like, the news has portrayed it as this happened, this is going down. Well, And
that was dropped.
Right.
Hardcore.
And benefit to the Patriots, even though they dropped him and they probably shouldn't have done that, that probably helped him. Being in the NFL spotlight, going through all this stuff, it's just like, okay, well, just think about how much he's already said when he wasn't in the spotlight.
Right.
Like, he's still talking about it. He started talking trash about Robert Kraft. Like, listen, just because you feel that you've been hurt, you've been cut out, doesn't mean you lash out at other people personally for their mistakes. People make mistakes. Own up to yours, or just don't deal with it.
One of the funniest things, though, okay, so going back to the timeline, so he gets kicked out he gets dropped from the Patriots because of his little snafu,
Allegedly.
The alleged snafu that has been totally eradicated, right? Like, totally disappeared. So it goes to, with personal relationships I have with friends, I've seen where we live in a new world today where women have this power that, believe women, this Kavanaugh thing, believe women. It's not that we don't, but we also need to acknowledge in a real world throughout the 60s and 70s, women got to say, that black man raped me, without a doubt. And a whole jury of our peers go, hup, you're right. That guy rots in a concrete cell for 30 years, technology catches up, and the DNA exonerates them. DNA evidence. So we have very real situations where deliberate eyewitness testimony is totally inaccurate. So there's actual instances where you could be inaccurate, but then there's also instances where, guys are crazy. Women can be crazy too. So there's also a possibility of situations where people can just lie. It's a sad part of the human experience. The fact that this has just completely disappeared kind of supports the fact that maybe this is somebody trying to take advantage of the guy who's in every headline every week. So, that being said, that's completely disappeared. And that was the real, rut in the road for him. But then while he's off watching the season, right? My guy's Myles Garrett. I'm going to die on that hill fighting for that guy. He hasn't touched his Twitter account. Hasn't touched it. Not even, his keyboard hasn't moved. But this guy's out here. We've done it on the podcast already. I'm trying to find more specific language. But just the cussing and the provocative language at the NFL, it's very shocking how quick a good team is willing to jump on him after the craziness that he stirred up. And to your point, you're like, but it is the end of the season and everything else. But when you do have Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, and Drew Brees is probably going to come back because he came out of retirement not to putsy around, and this season was kind of a waste. So I wouldn't be surprised if you get one more year out of Drew Brees just because he doesn't like where he ends up in this season.
The Saints could also be looking at, well, Drew Brees came out of retirement for this.
Make it work.
I didn't know that was a thing, and they're thinking maybe we have one more year with him. Maybe we have two. Maybe Drew is just going, well, hey, if I win the Super Bowl, I'm done.
Right, yeah.
So, like, why not give one of the most accurate passers ever who's just... Have you ever listened to his motivational speeches?
Oh, dude, he's so good.
Like, leadership out the wazoo. Like, it's just, when you have that and then you give him the weapons, like, okay, let's just throw in another top A-list wide receiver.
But we are diehard. Our last breath will be a cheer for the Browns.
Oh, absolutely.
And so when you and I are diehard Browns fans, what is our biggest problem right now? Huge disruption in the locker room. And it's a conflict of egos. So right now, the Saints have a smooth system, baby. They went to the Super Bowl. They have a darn good team. And when you've got these guys who are powerhouses, chemistry's flowing, is it really... You saw what happened to the chemistry in the Raiders locker room. And as a Browns fan, we see what's going on in the Browns locker room. You got two of the best they're not the best, but you've got two really, really great wide receivers, Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham. And there's some real issues in that locker room. These two are best friends, but now they're conflicting with the coach. Baker has his head so far up his butt, it's right back in place. And this dude, the amount of times you watch we'll get to Baker because that's the next article. But when you watch Baker, I watched somebody CGI him scanning the field. It was like the triangle. They showed his line of vision. Too many plays, he's not even looking to Odell, and Odell's over there like, hey. Now, in Baker's defense, does it help when guys, especially like Odell and other wide receivers like Higgins, when the ball's in your hands and they drop it? Yeah, that doesn't help this kid either. But the fact of the matter is, you could tell Baker's checking his ego. That's not healthy in a locker room. That's not healthy for our game. And I'd be the Saints. I'd be worried, what is this dude going to do to our locker room? I guess also the Saints get to say, didn't mess up the Patriots locker room.
They could also be saying, we got to make this work for a month.
That's
Can we
true.
do that? Hey, Antonio, stay off Twitter. Don't say anything stupid. Let's just play. And you could get a Super Bowl out of this.
Well, hold on. Now I got to check out this. He's only getting a workout. So my assumption through this article is that it would be for next season. I think it's too late for them to bring him into this season.
They just signed Marshawn Lynch. He's a free agent.
From the Raiders.
Seahawks.
Well, the Seahawks signed him. Who was the team he was playing for before this?
Raiders, but he was already retired, so he was just a free agent.
Okay.
So Marshawn Lynch went in there, he did a workout, and passed all his tests, and then he got on.
And he's playing right now.
He's supposed to play Sunday, to my knowledge.
Wow. So it isn't too late then.
And he's a free agent. It's not
Okay.
restricted or
Then
anything.
you've totally changed my perspective. My perspective has been, why would you take the chance of possibly disrupting your next season? But in reality, it's just you've already got everything's smooth. Week 16's done, baby. You're here, ready for the wrapping up of the season. There's really not much you can mess up.
Right, and then in their division, everyone's a top contender, freak of nature defenses.
Right.
So, like, okay, well, even if you don't know the plays or whatever, Antonio, just run a streak. You're going to get two guys on you or shaded towards you, and then Michael Thomas is even more unguardable.
Bingo.
Like,
That's a great
What are you
point.
going to do? Okay, we're going to double Thomas over here. Oh, we still got Antonio Brown one-on-one, even if he doesn't know what he's doing, which I think this dude's very football intellectually smart, because he walked into the Patriots within a week and started playing with Tom, and Tom does not do mistakes. Like, that's all you hear about. He yells at people about messing up their routes and everything. Like, Antonio Brown's not out there unless he knows what he's doing.
Right.
So
that's
clearly
a great
the
point.
guy is an intellectual player.
Yeah, and Tom wants him. Yeah, you have a great point. And at the end of the day, he's great. Why wouldn't we want to watch him? I don't want to listen to him on Twitter, but I want to watch you catch a football. I mean, he's so impressive to watch.
And you know what's crazy? Like, we're Browns fans. Antonio Brown, we never liked him either way. So that doesn't help. So we have a biased opinion towards that. And, like, specifically bias. So in our thought process, well, the way that Antonio Brown's presenting himself is unprofessional. Like, why are you doing this? Why
And
are
they
you
say the
doing
same
this?
thing about Miles.
Right.
You know, the Steelers hate him. He should never play it down again in his life. He's the devil. And we're over here like, come on, there's nobody nicer than Myles Garrett.
Right. It's
It's-
like, but like
You're
the thing
right,
is like
perspective.
it's all about perspective here, and like the perspective of Antonio Brown is that hey, this guy stinks. Like when it comes to his attitude and everything, and that's what he made at the Raiders to get out. So then he goes to the Patriots, and he's just like, hey, I'm here. And then you got all these allegations just got thrown in there. Then he's just like, okay, well, you were an idiot over at the Raiders, so clearly this is a thing. But maybe he's not. Maybe it's just like he was trying to get out of there, and then he just got put in a bad situation. And then the way that he responded to the situation is why he's still not in the league.
Yes.
In a sense.
100%.
I can't guarantee that, but you're telling me that no one wants to sign Antonio Brown? It's not his skill. It's the way that he responds to the adversity socially.
I 100% agree.
Like, if you just go, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Kraft, blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't need to be tweeting, oh, they owe me my guaranteed money. Okay, listen, that's not helping anything. That's
Right.
making you look like a crybaby in a sense. Like, I may believe that. You may believe that. It might be true. It probably is true. Guaranteed, supposedly. But when it comes down to it, why do you need to post that and tweet that to the world? Oh, because you want to get the hits from the social media world. I mean, Instagram, how many followers you get? He's making money off of every single post that he does.
Isn't that crazy?
And it's just like, okay, so he's not employed, but hey, he's making money by being this guy because everyone's going to follow Antonio Brown now.
Oh, yeah.
And then everyone's like, okay, let me just throw a little advertisement in there. And it's like, haha.
Exactly. I mean, listen, him rolling up in a blimp or, a hot air balloon to practice and the Lamborghini, all of it is branding. Odell did the same thing. Odell said before he changed his hair to like just a regular hairstyle, when he had like the bleach blonde and stuff, he always said, nobody recognizes football players. Everybody recognizes a basketball player because their uniform is them in a tank top. It's really hard to recognize football players and set yourself apart because we're all in this shell with helmets on and shoulder pads. We all look the same. And for a football player to really brand themselves and create a brand, you really need to separate yourself and make yourself stand out. That's the watches, that's the hair, that's the other stuff. So you recognize me on the streets, and I'm a face that you recognize and not just a helmet with a number. And so he does a great job with that. You got to give credit where credit is due. Mm-hmm. And, final thoughts with the Saints, Jarvis is having a hot year right now. And it's mainly because Odell is even hotter, but he's double-teamed. So it opens up his best friend, who is no force to be reckoned with. So I totally understand a need to bring Antonio Brown in because baby cakes, you can't catch us both. So one of us are going to be open. That's a great plan. And then you got Kamara out the back. You could throw a pass to him or run him right up the gut. How do you beat that? San Francisco doesn't have a chance.
Nope. That's a lot of people to shut down.
Right?
Like, love you, Richard Sherman, but you can't be on two people.
Right. Even Bosa ain't going to be doing nothing. So and that's a great... now thinking about it, that's not a bad strategy, and I think we'd all love to see it. If it works. And even if it doesn't, at least I was entertained.
Yeah.
This is what this is for.
Are you not entertained?
Listen, just like the Colosseums in Italy, we have all put our money together, and our tax dollars have put Colosseums in every major city in this country. It's because we love it. We're humans, baby. Entertainment.
And the difference is now it's socially acceptable because back then, well, when I say socially acceptable, you weren't allowed to kill people nowadays. Back then, that's what was socially acceptable. Like, hey, we're going to do this. And because the society was like, yes, do that. That works.
Exactly.
That hit on Myles Garrett to go back to this real quick. Like, hey, that is unacceptable nowadays, especially on a Thursday Night Football when everyone's going to be watching it. But, okay, let's go back. Okay, Antonio Brown drop-kicked a guy in the face mask. James Harrison nailed a guy in the head. And the fact that I heard him talking about this, I was like... Now, again, I could be biased because I'm a Browns fan,
right.
And what we know about Myles Garrett from everything that we've seen, like... I think, like, the day after, like, Myles Garrett is walking the streets talking to some guy, random person tweeted out, not Myles Garrett, someone else tweeted about it. And it's just like, to me, I'm looking at it, I was like, okay, so why is this guy on the streets just talking to random homeless people? He literally has lost everything in that 1 second of losing control.
And to pretend we didn't love it is a sham. I loved seeing it, man. And you played football right next to... Dude, all right, there was a play where Steve was the center and I was the guard right next to him. Our coach said we were only allowed to watch that play once. And then he scolded us, hit me with his shoe, Coach Black Sr. hit me with his cleat, and then he leaned in and said, I'd love to see it. Steve grabs the nose guard by his shoulder pads, brings him in real tight so the ref can't see him. He's holding them in real close. And I came in right here on the side. There is no padding under your armpit. You just have the front and you have the back. And I just started uppercutting his ribs. It was North Royalton. It was like the Browns playing the Saints for us. That was our rival. We were competing for a shoe. We hate these people. And they were doing the same thing to us. Oh, he also said a couple cuss words, and in that, I'm going to kick your butt and other junk. And it was the first play. So me and Steve looked at each other knowing we were going to double team him. That was the play that was called, and it was like, you're going to learn today, my guy. That's football. And that was just a play. Imagine, okay, rewinding, the thing that I embraced about Myles Garrett from the get was we hired this guy and he pulls out a picture, or we draft him, first pick, he pulls out a picture of Ben Roethlisberger and just rips it. He's like, I'm coming for you. And this is some like 20-year-old kid who's like, I'm coming for you, you 40-year-old man. I'm going to eat your breakfast. I love that. To pretend like this isn't the entertainment I'm signing up for. And so when that's the mentality, and then back to the play you and I played, when emotion and adrenaline is in it, to pretend none of us would do the same, if you're coming at me and the hand I'm going to punch you with has your helmet in it, you're eating your helmet, my guy, especially because you tried ripping my helmet off. I'm going to teach you going to learn today because you went to the biggest, baddest dude on that field and tried ripping his helmet off. Somebody needed to teach you a lesson. And, Mr. Rudolph, you're not even playing because you suck so bad.
I just can't believe he didn't get suspended.
Ugh. It kills me. And how funny is it that every quarterback has a recording of everything they've said during that game, and or every game, and just his mic just happened to be off that game.
Well, the thing that like got me that Mason Rudolph didn't get suspended, this whole big ordeal. Say Mason didn't do any of that stuff, right?
Right.
Myles just ripped his helmet off. Okay, so Mason's gonna come running at him. Oh no, Mason, you're fine. You didn't do anything wrong. Even though the only reason that this happened at this point, how are you going to react to this situation? Myles reacted poorly. All right, Mason. You used your head, and you came with it. And Myles said, okay, I'm going to swing because you're coming at me while another guy's holding me. Oh, I forgot I had something in my hand.
Right. And okay, the other one that killed me is everybody going, well, it could have killed him. It could have killed him. It did not. In fact, it caused no injury. And to operate in this world where it could have, yeah, it could have. Maybe this is the lawyer in me, but it didn't. You need to live in the real world. Pretending like something, a unicorn could have flown down and swept them away too, but it didn't. So at what point do we go, this is what happened? Everybody's adrenaline was high. The only thing that sucks about this whole situation is 8 seconds of a darn good game where we beat a rival has damned our entire season. Our defense has fallen apart by the seams, and he was such a foundational part of our defense. We've got no defense. That Ravens game was ours, man. The best team in the league, who's going to win the Super Bowl, should have lost to us twice, but they beat us the second time because we didn't have a defense. It's a killer. It's a killer. And what sucks is I'm supposed to be here being wild, screaming about Antonio Brown, and I'm here talking about you.
True. I will say I'm happy, though. This is one thing I don't understand about the NFL. When a player gets suspended, and, for example, Miles, he's down in the dumps. He is by himself because he's not allowed to talk to the organization. He's not allowed to report to the facility.
Wait. He's just allowed back this week. New news.
I heard about that, and I was like, oh, wow, he hasn't talked to anyone or been here.
Could you imagine going through that alone?
Like, you basically just got fired, essentially. It's like, hey, go to your house. Okay, well, let me call my friends. Granted, he probably has some friends, but, hey, I am in the middle of season when I'm not supposed to be doing anything except for football.
Right.
And granted, life is all about having your balance. So hopefully he had his balance and a good support system. Because if you don't have a support system and you're going through basically the media and everyone making you public enemy number one, like, I can't imagine the mindset you would be without a good support system. Because doing that on your own, like, hey, love you, Miles. I hope you made it through well intact.
For real.
Mentally. Like,
and I really hope the listen, I understand he's not allowed to be on the premises. He's not allowed to work out with the team. But I feel like people like John Dorsey and even Freddie Kitchens, other coaches, they have a duty. They owe it to him to be there for him. Outside of that building, outside the four walls, you need to be there for this guy. Because with Freddie Kitchens wearing a shirt that says Pittsburgh started it, and very clearly the attitude of that game was rip their heads off. We saw what Randall did, and he got kicked out of the game, rightfully so. It's like, at what point do we go, yeah, you probably... Oh, I listened to Joe Thomas and Hawkins on their podcast. Never really listened to their podcast, but they did a thing on Myles Garrett, and I was like, I'm curious where their perspective comes out. And Joe Thomas made a great point that is kind of chilling. Like, it gives you chills because one of the things he said was the biggest problem coaching Myles Garrett has been is that he's so mild-tempered, and he's so soft. He's a teddy bear, so nice, that it's been a struggle throughout his entire career so far, the 2-3 years, of bringing this animal out of him. And that Myles doesn't even like what he becomes on the field because he's not that guy. But he's also the best in the league at his position. But anyway, Joe Thomas makes a point about, if he does come back, if the league does let him come back, there's a real worry that he may never get to that place again because he doesn't like what he becomes on the field to begin with. And now, look at the hell it's put him through, that he may never want to be there again. That's petrifying because, again, this dude was the best at his position in the league. Mm-hmm. It kills me.
And to bring it back, good luck, Antonio Brown, with the Saints.
Yes. Oh, and one last wrap-up thought with Myles Garrett is, so I bring up our moment on the football field. Things can take advantage of you, and I think as a credence to this point, that this isn't a reflection of him or his character. This is 8 seconds on a football field that he lost control or emotions and adrenaline took advantage of him. If we rewind the clock a month before that, Myles, mind you, I was in Baltimore when we played the Ravens. This man had a fence that came up to his nose, puts his leg on top of the fence. I've never seen anything like it in my life, and climbs into the stands and is taking pictures with people, signing autographs with all the Browns fans. I mean, that's this guy. And again, rewinding the clock a month before this incident, he's so in the community. He's so for the fans. To his own detriment, a stranger comes up to him while he's sitting in his car at a stoplight with his window down and baits him to thinking he's a fan and punches him across the face. And what does he do in the real world? Not when a racist prick from Pittsburgh says some things, but when a real person in the real world decks him in the face, he rolls his window up and marches forward and takes it, which most of us would not do.
I don't understand how that even was a thing. Why would you hit someone randomly?
Because the world's disgusting anymore. My grandmother always said 50% of the world wakes up every day figuring out ways to screw over the other 50%. And it's unfortunately true. So here's just a sick guy. And Miles didn't let it get to him. He didn't let it affect his career. And he rose above it. That's the reality. This is in the real world. This is at a gas station. But on the football field, we're going to sit here and say he's deplorable. He should never, ever have a job again. Some of those people were disgusting. But again, that's the point I wanted to wrap up and emphasize on is he had a real-world situation and rose above it. Right. So we can't allow this to reflect who he is or his character. All right, well, on that, moving on to the second to last article we got here. Baker says he'll be working hard this offseason, but without a quarterback tutor. My guy, you need a tutor. You need a tutor in every facet. You need an Instagram, a Twitter tutor, you need a character tutor, and you need a quarterback tutor because you suck. Thoughts?
We disagree a lot. I like Baker.
Change my mind.
I don't need to change your mind, but I can express my feelings towards it. If Baker had the same exact stats and everything was going well, say we got that touchdown and decided to go for a 2-point conversion against the Rams, the Seahawks, we didn't blow it.
But who blew it?
The team.
Baker blew it.
In your opinion.
Okay.
It could be...
Chubb didn't.
So... you have a thing against Baker in a sense. So who blew it? Baker blew it. So in your opinion, Baker has all these things that he needs to fix. So he's the most easy person to blame, the quarterback. That's why they get paid the most. That's why they get to deal with the most. Like, listen, Baker's our age. He's 25, and you're telling him, hey, here's the key to a franchise, go do it. The fact that he had his first year in all the debauchery that he had, and now we're coming here and the media put all this pressure on them to be the team of the future, the Super Bowl. Like, it's clear we made mistakes this year as a team. You can see it happening. Like, small things that happen, and it's just like, it's, sadly to say, it's typical Browns fashion. Mm-hmm. But Baker is going to be the first quarterback to play all 16 games for the Browns since 2001.
Since Tim Couch.
And... he's there. Like, he's endured.
But he's there giving up 2 interceptions at least a game. The fact that it was a big deal that we've gone, this is about to be our 3rd game in a row without a Baker interception. And he gives up 3 to Miami. To Miami. To Miami. And then also... oh, but Miami isn't the worst. They beat the Bengals. Oh, he gave up interceptions to the Bengals. The dude is not good. The saddest part is I am a Browns fan, so I'm never going to not cheer for him when he's doing well. But to sit here and pretend I'm not allowed to criticize him for his downfalls because he's our savior, one, sure, he was given the keys to the franchise. He also emphasized he has no intention of being a Browns franchise quarterback. That's deplorable for me. You don't want to be with us, I don't want to be with you. He's just here to build up a resume to go somewhere else. To each his own, I don't respect it. But that's not the real problem here. The real problem is, one, you got Freddie Kitchens who doesn't know how to call plays to save his life. That's a real problem. But on top of it, you throw in somebody who isn't a playmaker, cannot see over the line. He's a midget. And then on top of it, he holds the ball way too long. That's an irrefutable fact. The fact that both you and Will were willing to die on this Baker Hill, and both you and Will, on your own accounts, go, yeah, I'm starting to see what you were saying from the beginning. The unfortunate thing is, I'm not talking about Baker last season. I'm talking about Baker this season. Because they are not the same person. His ego... he got too much Hulu money, buckets dumped on his head. The commercials are disgusting. Dude, you are way too distracted. But again, I don't blame you. Get as many commercials in as you can because your career is going to be dead, baby cakes, because you are doing piss poor. Anyway, he plays like a martyr on top of it. You have Freddie Kitchens who's picking terrible plays. I concede. But he plays like a... You know, do you ever think Tom goes, I don't agree with Belichick. I'm going to make sure that this play goes down into the dumps to prove to him that was not the right play to pick. No. The dude makes the most of the position and makes crappy plays into great plays. Baker, you see it. You see him go. The funny thing is the way they film the Browns games compared to, with Sunday NFL Ticket. I'll watch all the football games. And what's crazy is you get to see how they film all the teams differently. They film us only showing disruption on the sidelines. Either Jarvis yelling at Freddie, Odell yelling at Freddie, Baker and Odell yelling at each other. They look for the disruption on the sidelines, I think, because that's what our brand has turned into. And when you see Baker, he'll make it so clear he doesn't agree with the play. And then he purposely makes it dive. And then, on top of it, you look at his actual gameplay. Holds the ball too long, thinks he can scramble and he can't. Dude, there were some comical plays against the Ravens where he thought he was Lamar and it was like, dude, you moved a yard or you went backwards. Where he thought like, whoop, scoopity whoop, I'm going to come around the edge. And he goes maybe a yard. And it's like, dude, he's slow. And what's funny is it works for Ben Roethlisberger because he's a tank. He's a foot taller and 100 pounds heavier. That's not you. You're a little child out there. And I guess for me, Antonio Brown, we could go on for hours about his character outside the game, but we'll always have to concede, guy does his job. Guy's unbeatable. Guy's one of the best at his. I want that to be Baker. Baker, you don't get to be an ass and suck. You get to be an egomaniac at the point at which you earn it. You earned it at Oklahoma. Sure, I'll play your game. But it's not Oklahoma anymore. You're playing for the Browns. And you aren't looking good. The fact that there are 3 interception opportunities at least every game, and it's up to the defense to seize them, he serves it to them on a silver platter. It kills me. And again, Freddie's the biggest detriment here. I think if he had better coaching and better play calling, it wouldn't look as terrible. I mean, even with Nick Chubb, he's calling the wrong run plays even when he is giving him the ball. Some of those up-the-gut plays when they've got a 5-2 just clogging the gut, it was like, that was the play? That was the choice? Not around the edge, not a pitch. You go I formation in the 2-hole? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So now, I gave a lot to you, a lot to respond to. Now I want to hear your thoughts.
I don't know. I think a big thing about the Browns is there's a lot of spotlight on us. So yeah. I believe we were talking about before about how NBA players, like you see them on the street and you know who they are. You go to you look at NFL players. It's like, oh, you don't really. Well, how many people on the street on the Browns would you know if you walked by?
At least 8.
So the media can basically go to any NBA team and be like, hey, we got Kevin Durant here. Hey, we got Kyrie. Hey, we got Steph. Hey, we have LeBron. Like, there's a guy on every team that everyone's going to be like, I know that guy.
Right.
And then you look at the NFL and you go, okay, you got Tom Brady.
J.J. Watt.
Right.
And that's it.
But, like, think about how many people you could walk up and know on the street. On the Browns, Odell is a social media hit. Period.
Oh, yeah.
Then Baker, you know who Baker is because of all the shenanigans with OSU and Oklahoma, and then him being the number 1 pick. And, like, he's just there. So it's easy to pick on. You got Landry. Well, you know me. It's contagious.
I love him.
Like, when you saw that on HBO Hard Knocks and he's going, it's contagious, you know who Jarvis Landry is. Myles Garrett. Everyone knows who Myles Garrett is now. And they did before probably as well. And then you go, okay, well, who else we got? Oh, we got Kareem Hunt. Well, there's a lot of noise there. Oh, well, Nick Chubb, he's number 1. Nick Chubb is probably the most outstanding person right now, and he is so quiet.
That's
because he's just there to do his job.
Bingo.
I hate you.
Actions speak louder than words, man.
Yes.
He lets his play, his game, speak for him. Baker needs to chirp, needs to talk, make this noise, because his game ain't making it for him.
But what is the media going to talk to? All right, well, the Browns did terrible today. They lost. Nick Chubb had 150 yards on the ground. Hey, Nick.
And he just...
No, it's, okay, where's Odell? Where's Baker? Where's the guys that are going to give us their raw opinion? Well, I'm sure plenty of people have their raw opinion, but hey, these guys are there and they're not afraid to do it. So good for them. I'm happy that they do that. The problem is that I love how everyone's talking about how Odell and Landry are going around telling people, hey, come get me. Well, I'm happy that Odell finally just go, all right, can we just cut this out? Like, we're going to be here next year. Like, nah, I didn't do that. And, like, my favorite is Jarvis Landry's like, don't slander my name. Literally! Like, when we're talking about media, and we'll get to this when it comes to the impeachment, like,
Yeah.
hello, CNN. Like, I watched the impeachment for 2 hours with my mom, and then, like, we go to CNN, and it's like, wait, that isn't what happened. Like, that was one sentence of the whole entire thing. It's just like, the media puts it into a perspective where, hey, let's do it. And Baker said it where he goes, okay, well, you were saying something about Baker not saying he's a franchise quarterback. Well, that was the headline.
Right.
But I watched the interview of it, and he was saying that he doesn't deserve to be the franchise quarterback yet. And to each their own. Your perspective is that he's saying, I'm not going to be here. My perspective is, okay, he's attempting to tell people, I'm not deserving of the franchise quarterback name yet. But you are trying to make me that way. Like,
I would love to believe that's the case, but again, Lamar Jackson, who is the best quarterback right now, arguably in my opinion, this man throws one interception. And he goes to every player on his offense and shakes their hand and apologizes. I am sorry. I am sorry. This kid comes up with an excuse for everything. I have never seen him accountable after one game. Not one game have I seen Baker go, I didn't do it today, guys. Like, I wasn't this, that. No, there is an excuse for everything. And that is such a character flaw. And it comes back to the conversation we had with Antonio Brown of, yes, this game is a lot talent. This game is a lot skill and strength. But even more so, it's camaraderie and chemistry in that locker room. That is the biggest part of this team sport. This isn't wrestling. This isn't tennis. This isn't golf. This is football where 22 guys rely on each other 100% of the time. It only works when all 11 dudes are doing their job together. And this dude has never taken accountability once.
So you're saying that he's always giving these excuses. What if, in reality, he's not giving excuses, he's explaining what's happening? And his explanation...
So, out of 16 games, Steve, can you say and make the argument that not one of those games fell on Baker's back?
I mean, you could put that on a lot of people's back. I mean, my thing is, how you said, 22 people are playing for each other the entire time. So, not only do you have those people playing for each other, you have the coaches. You have this. And you're talking about how Freddie Kitchens can't make a play call to save his life. Well, if he can't do that, how is the quarterback supposed to play well then? If you're saying that, hey, clearly you can see that these plays aren't working. Well, if they're not working, how can you even judge your talent of your guys?
So can't we make the same argument for Freddie? Mm-hmm. We could say it isn't Freddie's fault. His quarterback isn't producing. Mm-hmm. What the real argument here is there's more than one facet that's a problem.
Right.
And so my only issue here is you can't, not you, the general you or Baker you, cannot take a stance where zero fault when at least 1/22 of the fault falls on you, my guy. Like, at least one smidgen is on you, and you can't even find that. That's a detrimental character flaw. And it's a character flaw we can live with and we can get through, like someone like Antonio Brown, when the skill outweighs that. Again, looking at Baker's first season, he played half a season and broke all rookie quarterback records. He beat Lamar. He had the hottest season ever. What is making Lamar blow up the way he is? He's got an offensive line Baker couldn't imagine having. He's got a coaching staff that is so foundational. Proven. I mean, again, I will happily concede the things that fall short for Baker to have all the proper, resources he needs. But that still shouldn't be an excuse when you've got other players in the same league going, it doesn't matter the excuse, I'm going to put it on me until... Here's the thing. You don't get the guts and the glory without... Or you don't get the glory without the guts. You got to be able to say... You don't get to go... pat your back every freaking game. I'm the best. Hulu has live sports. Dump money on me. I'm the best. Come to Progressive. I'm the best. And then, you don't get that without also going, but when I fell short, I fell short.
I guess I am just happy to see what happens next year with this team.
Yeah, you know what it is? I am spoiled because I've gone from an 0-16 team that totally is embarrassing to now that we're competitive, I'm expecting stuff of my team. I don't want to live in the past 20 years of my existence where it's been, I've gone to the playoffs once in my life, we lost the first game, it was a joke. To never be in the playoffs again, well, now I want to be able to take football serious. My dad gets to talk about how he watched a Jim Brown, Cleveland Browns team before a Super Bowl where we have the most world championships in football because we were that badass. That's a team I want to get excited about. Well, to get there, we don't get to go, well, it's still better than 0-16. It's no. Guys, we are not the Ravens. We are not the 49ers, and we are not the Patriots. And the step to getting there is acknowledging the steps that are holding us back.
There's always next year. Isn't that what we say?
God. It's always next year.
I mean, I think about last year, how exciting and exhilarating that entirety was. The difference between last year and this year is...
expectations.
Yeah. We expected it to happen this year. Last year, we didn't expect it to happen. Last year, I'm pretty sure, do we have the same record, essentially? Like, if we win this game, we're going to have the same record, almost?
I think so.
But the way it happened is what gave all this noise to it, what gave all this promise. And you know what? Like, I love the Browns, and maybe that's my bias, and that's why I don't see all these things that you see. And you're just being hypercritical of it, or you're being... complete. But my thing is like, why do we have to judge so much? Why can't it be, this was a bad year?
Dude, did you watch, I'm convinced right now you didn't watch this season.
I watched this.
Did you just log in and see the scores afterwards? Because we should have beat the Rams. That was your comment.
Oh,
we should have beat the Seahawks. That was your comment. The only team that I really think there was no beating was the 49ers.
Oh, yeah,
because of the terrible team that showed up. It's not that the 49ers were better than us because we've seen the teams that we beat the 49ers recently. But more importantly, it's we didn't even show up that day. And we had... Okay, of course, it just doesn't have it on top. I was hoping to get our... record. But anyway, 7-8-1. So we are better if we win this game.
Which we're better than last year, except last year we're like, hey.
Actually, no, we can't go 500.
No.
So the best we can get is 8-9.
So we're worse than last year.
Or 7-9, so yeah.
Oh, that's disappointing.
So we will be worse than last year because of the tie.
I'm just thinking to myself, like...
Dude, that's bad.
Yeah,
we had Hugh Jackson as a joke, and the biggest detriment is we should have beat teams like the Seahawks. We should... The fact that we go, wow, look at Lamar. He beat Tom Brady. He beat Russell Wilson. And, we should... Guess who he lost to? Baker Mayfield. So, it's just mind-blowing that our team is damn good. And it doesn't reflect it because nobody showed up. And so we should be critical. We shouldn't be complacent because we've taken a step back from a crappy year. That was a bad year. We go in with the best roster on paper. What?
I mean, yeah. Another thing that I'm looking at and that I'm sort of thinking of is like we're talking about how this is a team sport, right? No, we just destroyed our roster like last year, so our team had something to come together for last year. This year, it's like, hey, we are going to be amazing. Everyone's thinking that, everyone's saying that, so things aren't going well. So now you have a team that doesn't really know how to play with each other yet. They're still learning and everything. And what I think of when I think of that is the Rams should have been better this year, I'm pretty sure, compared to last year when they went to the Super Bowl. They got Jalen Ramsey, but they don't play as a team.
Well, you're 100% right. And look at Jared Goff. If there isn't a quarterback that really took 2 steps back, it's him, baby. That dude is nothing like he was when he was a quarterback in the Super Bowl. I mean, that is not the same guy. So, again, to sit here and go as a fan, it isn't fair to go, Goff took 3 steps back. It's... Dude, my shirt's blue, your shirt's great. Jared Goff went backwards. So when you look at Baker, you have the most interceptions in the league. Not a good statistic to have, Steve. Who's the most then?
Jameis Winston.
With a better team, baby. I would take him. I would take that team right now over the Browns. They are a better team, and they beat us.
I like the Browns.
The Browns will always be my favorite team. That's why I'm passionate about wanting better. I think that, here's back to the Myles Garrett thing. It really, really stinks that we're still sitting in purgatory being told that it is still indefinite. He had his appeal, and his suspension is still indefinite. That's not good. So we in Cleveland, because we're, again, perspective, bias, in love with our Browns, are still more than convinced he's coming back. There's nothing to hint to the fact that he's coming back.
Dude, you want to know what's
except for them letting him into the
do you know what's going to determine if he comes back, when he comes back?
What?
The news, social media.
They just got to let people forget.
Right.
Like Louis C.K., who I'm going to see in 3 weeks in Akron. Woo!
We'll have fun.
I will. I will. I've been waiting for my opportunity to throw money at Louis C.K., and now I get to. He's finally out of timeout.
Is he? Is that how that works?
So now we got to wait for Myles to be out of timeout, and then we should be allowed to get him back.
It's all about socially being acceptable, and what Myles did was definitely not on Thursday Night Football. So, you don't have every other football game to talk about. You only have Myles Garrett. Not the Browns, Myles Garrett. Because... why not?
Why not?
Hey, the Browns won. Oh my gosh, they have like a 50% chance to make the playoffs now. 100% if they win out. Wait, let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about like this huge incident that, J.J. Watt's going to be tweeting about. Patrick Mahomes was tweeting about. Like,
what did Patrick Mahomes say?
It was probably like something like the emoji. Like, literally is like, oh my God, what did I just watch? Is literally like what these guys are tweeting.
Oh my goodness.
Like, imagine, like, and that's what people are throwing on social media. So say this, the game's at 1 o'clock. All right, the game's at 1 o'clock. Great. Okay, well, none of those players are going to be tweeting about this now.
Bingo. Great point. And there's 5 other teams playing.
Right. It's just like, okay, so the real people who only saw the game was the Browns and the Steelers. And you know what? The next thing you know, Monday everyone's at work, and they're not going into the weekend watching SportsCenter about Myles Garrett.
You're right.
Like, I'm very intrigued to see what would have happened if it happened on a 1 o'clock Sunday game.
It would have changed it totally.
And, like, my thing is they're talking about how there wasn't precedent. Okay, Myles Garrett got in a little tussle. Helmet came off after his helmet was being messed with. Kicking the junk possibly. Like, he could have been defending himself, could have been kicking him in the junk. Who knows? And then he gets away from the matter. And then the guy comes back at him. And then, I said it before, he didn't get suspended. But, anyways, you have this video. It was in a preseason game. And the guy literally ripped the guy's helmet off and swings it at him and stops and goes, oops. And he made contact.
Yep.
And he was suspended for 2 preseason games and a regular season game. There's no precedent? You're telling me there's no precedent? No, it's called, we need to protect the quarterback.
Bingo.
Okay, this is how many years from that time where it's Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Where it's not socially acceptable as much as it was then, back when people were getting knocked out, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. And then you got CTE, it's like, okay, this is not cool. Like, we're going to lose this whole entire multi-billion-dollar company. Like, we need to make this safe. And this is like, everything is all about the public accepting this. Like, the public needs to accept that this was a reasonable time. Because if it's not, they're going to make their ruling, and the public's going to go, no. Right now, they said he might be kicked out of the league forever. He's back in this facility already. Like, let's be honest. Like, if you kick a player out for this, like, you're setting the precedent to lose so many players.
Oh, they'll walk away before they let you.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, okay, yes, this was very bad. But, like, okay, so let's say that someone's helmet gets taken off, right? And then someone knees them. That helmet that got hit, was someone coming with a knee square to your forehead or your nose, your socket, your temple? Yeah, that's going to be damaging. And that could probably be more damaging because you might actually make good contact.
For real.
But you know what? Socially acceptable, it was an accident.
Like, you make a great point.
It's just, I don't know. I'm not condoning anything. I'm just saying, like, there was precedent. Social acceptance is what's changing everything. And one thing that I've said is we're growing up in the world of terrible threes. Let me whine and cry and see how long until someone listens to me and makes a change about it. Donald Trump needs to be impeached. Oh my gosh, let me whine and cry about this. Granted, I don't know that much about this stuff. I'm not going to say I do. But from what I've watched and stuff like that, it's just like you get impeached and the Democrats are the only one who are voting for him to be impeached, and the Republicans, like...
I got even more. No. It wasn't all the Democrats. It was all but two. We'll save the impeachment thing. But you make a great point.
That's just what I'm saying. Like, socially, like, why are we so divided where it's this or that? It's like, okay, let's learn from our mistakes, people.
Yes.
Like, why can't we just do that? Like, don't expect someone to do something right. Like, just think to yourself right now. When have you made a mistake that was so bad at the time that you're just like, the world is ending? Now imagine if that was put on the news. And then you go...
And everybody's tweeting at you, you're a bad person, and blah, blah. The saddest part of all, though, is you're 100% right. This was a social game that the NFL had to play. They had to worry about media backlash and everything else. But if you really look... I mean, again, me and you can have these conversations because we lived it. Literally next to each other, playing this game together, growing up in the game of football. And so it's just interesting that the people, besides football players being paid millions of dollars and want to protect themselves, aside from those people, the only people who really had negative things to say about Myles Garrett, who want to make a stance that this is not acceptable. Like, every conversation I had that day with Will and everybody else, it's like, yeah, okay, I get I'm supposed to say this is wrong and this upsets me. But it doesn't. Does that make me a sicko? I'm not about to go shoot up a school. I just don't see it. I don't see the problem. Those that had a problem with it, though, like my big who dresses up as R2-D2 for Disney World, who's never played it down in his life, it's all the people that have never played football. Those are the ones that have an opinion on him, his character, and how this should be reconciled.
So, and to your point, why does it have to be so, it's either this or that?
Yeah.
Like, we're having a nice conversation about this. Like, me and you disagree about Baker completely. I love Baker. I think that he's going to be really, really good because I think
I'm not saying he won't blossom into something.
Right.
I'm just acknowledging where he's at right now, and the way to get him to blossom into a flower is to acknowledge that he ain't a flower right now.
I personally think that he's holding himself accountable, but he doesn't owe it to you. He doesn't owe it to anyone to say, hey, guys, I'm going to be accountable of this. Like, no. Like, honestly, I'd rather him do it himself. Like, hey, I'm going to get better this offseason. Like, I'm accountable for me. It doesn't matter what you say. Like, that brown and orange thing, like, good. Because there is so much noise everywhere. Like, holding yourself accountable and doing it is way better than talking about it.
Here, just to further your point, so the quote from the article that sparked this whole conversation, and it definitely gives credence to your point, and it may make me agree with you even more. I already know exactly what I need to work on and improve going forward. This is the exciting thing about it, and it always is a continual process about getting better and improving. I do not need somebody to teach me how to do a 3-step drop. I can look at film and be critical of myself. Throughout this process, I have had people help me out along the way and try to make take things from different people. Anytime I am around somebody, I ask questions. I do not act like I have it all figured out. There's always room to improve and take things from there, and I would not say that I will go on the beach and swim through the ocean and try to learn how to play quarterback by doing that. I don't know, that's a weird point, but it goes to, that totally gives, really? Well, look at Dak when he does his little hip dance. It's like, hey, buddy, you're still one of the worst quarterbacks in the league too. So
hey, I everyone's like joking about that, like, and like you could be messing around with that, but he's stretching. Okay, like
that is stretching.
Like, I don't know. How do you feel about Dak and his composure?
Do you see him running his mouth or getting money dumped on him, and he ain't performing like he used to?
Is he?
He is not doing that great.
Is he throwing a lot of interceptions?
Kind of.
I don't know. When I see Dak, I see...
Definitely not as much as Baker! Woo!
Well, that's because... I don't know. You can look at the stats on Dak Prescott if you want, but I'm pretty sure that he's not having a bad year by any means. It's just, like, it's a team sport, so, like, some games the defense isn't showing up. Sometimes Dak doesn't show up, like... It doesn't mean that Dak's not a good quarterback. Like, you could say that Tom Brady is terrible in a game against the Bills, I think, this year, where he didn't
You're saying anything. The same thing about him this year, dude.
And it's just like, well, maybe he doesn't have any weapons. Like, it's such a team sport to say that this person's underperforming. Like,
there are a lot more, there's a lot more mitigating factors that
I guess
that
I'm just less harsh on it, or less critical of it, because I think of, okay, well, what is all the life aspects that are going on, not just on the field, in your head, just everything, because everything affects how you do things, like
100%.
What?
Dude, listen to your point. Your point is everything affects your play, everything. So being an over-obsessive egomaniac affects your play. It's clear. That's the only argument I'm making, is humble up a bit and acknowledge you are not what you think you are. You aren't Odell rolling in with a Supreme suitcase, because you're not good. And you're not good because you're so in love with yourself, so consumed, that it's affecting your gameplay. So when you say there's so many things that affect your gameplay, to pretend like being in love with yourself, loving yourself more than you could love any other person, isn't having an effect. Tom Brady does not have that character flaw. Drew Brees does not have that character flaw. When we have the conversation about Drew Brees and his leadership, it's not the first... Again, I don't even... I was going to make a comment about it. It was the right move for Baker, but as soon as the Steelers game is over and a microphone is thrown in his face, he goes, "We don't accept that. We're leaving him behind. The train's going to keep moving." It's like, oh, good leader. Glad to see we're all on the same train together. But again, I will concede that at that time, I even said to Will, the thing in this situation is Baker is damned if he do and damned if he don't, and he had to make that stance, because if he didn't, he was going to come out the bad guy and take ridicule just like Miles did. Rather, Disney with ESPN and all the other softies just kissed his butt all day the next day, going, "Well, look at Baker. He agrees with us. Miles is the devil, blah, blah, blah." So he came out the golden angel. So he had to do that. But also, Tom Brady goes, "I don't agree with cutting Antonio Brown." Like, I don't care about this article of this claim about a woman. It wasn't the right move. The guy's true to himself. Baker is consumed by himself.
So another thing to your point there is, like, Tom Brady put that out there. You heard about that.
Right.
Now what? Like, because Tom Brady has had all this success, like, Tom can say this, and people look at it and go, okay, but no one's going to go, all right, well, how much money are we going to make if we post about Tom doing this? So, you're not. Then you have Baker Mayfield. You throw something about Baker Mayfield right now? Yeah, you're going to get money because people are Googling his name. So, of course, they're going to put anything and everything about Baker. And the easiest thing to relate to in society is, oh, I hate this. Oh, yeah, let me tell you how passionate I am about this, okay? I'm so passionate about how much I hate this. Well, okay, I hate how Baker Mayfield is portraying himself. Like, Baker is not this. So you can just go on and on about Baker just being a terrible thing in general. Or, in like, to be like, oh, yeah, no, Baker's, like, really good. No one wants to hear about how Baker is, he got married and he's doing great in life and stuff like that. No, they want to hear, oh, Baker did terrible. No, really? Let's read about that, because that's going to get people to come in and read about it. Like,
is it because he has a legacy of acting and being terrible?
I mean, whenever people go, well, Baker did this, and this just goes back to, okay, listen, he's not going out and being a college boy anymore and running away from cops. Yeah. Like, okay, he is not going. You're gonna make a comment, I guarantee. He's not going around planting flags anymore. He's not going around grabbing his junk anymore. He learns from his mistakes. Now, granted, some people may make more than others, but because he's already done this, you have people like Colin Cowherd who can go, Baker has this personality flaw. And it's like, okay, well, he did those things, but he's not really repeating them. He's making new mistakes, and he's learning from mistakes. Them. So that's why when I look at this season with Baker, it's frustrating. It sucks. But right there, he's going, I know what I need to do. Like, clearly he can do it. He did it last year. He just needs to figure out what went wrong.
Right.
And I'm a big believer in, if I'm having issues and I need to talk to someone, I'll talk to you. But it's my decision on what I'm going to do. It doesn't matter how much you're going to help me. If I don't believe that you can help me, it's not going to work.
Right.
So if I have that thought that I know that I can be better, and granted, he's not going to go in a room and be by himself. He's going to have people helping him.
Oh, right.
But, like, it's just like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. He's done it. Like, you don't get 27 touchdowns as a rookie by not knowing what you're doing. You don't luck into that. You're just got to learn how to play with one of the best wide receivers in the NFL and deal with the media. And when I say deal with the media, it's just appease them.
And stop tweeting in American Airlines every couple months because you still haven't gotten a free flight.
Wouldn't it be nice if social media didn't exist, Antonio?
Yes. I think you've definitely helped craft my perception a bit better because, again, it is a true point that I'm not going to change it for him. And all these other people chirping at him aren't going to change anything. It's something he needs to do on his own. I just think the only point that I want to make is that something that would hold you back is ignoring the problem. And so, are these just words, or does he actually see a problem? That's what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. My perception has been he's so egotistical, there's no way he's seeing problems. And this is just smoke. But if it's true that he sees a problem, if he can at least acknowledge that I'm not losing my mind, I'm not just some wacko fan that's got, have you ever seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Charlie has all the pictures with the string? I'm not sitting there with a cigarette like, yeah, it's these guys and it's Freddie. And it's like, at least acknowledging that I'm not crazy and that what I'm seeing is accurate. If you can see it then I'm okay. That means that we can only go up from here. You ignoring it is only going to make it worse. So if what you're saying is true, if you see a problem that you can improve on, then that's great. I have no qualms. Again, I'm having fun watching the Browns for the first time in years. So again, I can say, yes, am I getting a little greedy? Sure. If we're saying being a regular fan of football is being greedy because we haven't been able to be one.
So here's a question. You're enjoying it and all this, right? So
yes.
How do you feel venting about Baker, if you will?
Good, I guess, because it gives me you want to know why we didn't vent about good old Money Manziel or even what's the other guy? Who's the quarterback before Johnny?
Hoyer.
Hoyer. Who is a quarterback on another team, not a starting quarterback right now, but it's like he had a pretty strong career after leaving the Browns as a starting quarterback.
Right.
We never talked about him because there was no hope. Like, we have the reason why we get to have these conversations and be passionate about them and get excited about having these conversations is because the hope is there. It can be delivered to us. And so it's just kind of aggravating that it's like, I think there's a lot of credence to your point. It's great. It's great being aggravated because before we had no hope, and the hope is there. That's what makes it aggravating.
Yep. So from what I heard there is we have hope, and it's not there right now because it's the end of the season. We don't have the playoffs, so I'm even more upset than I was before. So, like, think about it. If we came into this season like, oh, boy, here we go again. We'll see what happens. No, you have Odell. You have Landry. Like, when we were talking about the Browns' offense in the beginning of the year, you're like, we have Odell, we have Landry, we have Njoku, we have Chubb, we have Baker throwing the ball. Hey, we got Hunt. I know. Oh, and then we're talking about Hollywood Higgins. Like, we're talking about all these guys. We're all pumped up like we are unstoppable. And then they're talking about how good our defense is. Like, we're going to kill it. And then now that it's not there, all that excitement and all that passion that we had, yeah, it's going to go the opposite way now. Because we had all that hope. And it's just like, I think we are so critical because of how much hope that we had. Mm-hmm. Because with Johnny, we didn't have much hope. But we weren't that critical of Johnny because we were like, hey, Johnny, go out there and try to do something for us. We know you don't have anything. We didn't have the hope with Johnny.
How about this? Remember Pee Wee football? When we played Pee Wee football, there was the Medina football team. Medina didn't have an 8th grade football team. So we, as 6th graders, were playing 8th graders, which, if people don't understand sports for boys at that time period, those 2 years are pivotal because you have kids who have reached or are going through puberty and kids who are nowhere near it playing each other. And it was like David and Goliath times 10. The way Medina had this perception of like, don't even show up. They're going to beat the pulp out of us. Do you want to know what Mr. Respark's strategy was for our team when we played Medina? Was just they would do this play where they would, a wedge play. All 14-year-olds would just link up to each other and plow, and it was unstoppable. We had to, dude, this is before CTE and all that other junk, and the amount of times we got concussions when we were kids that just played through. But the plan was to just dive into their legs and trip up and just clog this whole thing up. Dude, they were stepping on us all. Anyway, when you played Medina, there was never a point in time where it was like, screw you kids, you didn't try hard enough, you little 6th graders. So we didn't have a chance. But guess what? When that passion came out when we played Randy Zach in the Broncos, and Randy was untouchable, this little kid who was like half everybody's size but was like lightning, like, that was because we were 2 Brecksville teams playing each other. We could beat these guys. It went into overtime. I'll never forget that game. I mean, it was so passion-filled. And it was because that was a beatable team. And so I agree with your sentiment, but also it isn't that, like, I'm angry. Like, the reality is you aren't the David and Goliath. You guys were the Goliath, and somehow you tripped up to act like a bunch of 6th graders. You turned out to be the 6th graders when you're all the ones that reached puberty. So it's disappointing because we cannot pretend Kareem Hunt, before he left in his suspension, he was the best player in the league. And Nick Chubb is without a doubt the best running back in the league. Now you've got the 2 best running backs. Huh? Odell, before Eli Manning, just should sit down and quit the league before he was a god. Now he's dropping easy balls in his hands and, he's not seen when he's open. And just like that guy said to us at the bar, one thing that I've been watching ever since that conversation, it's irrefutable. He is not getting off the ball. You've got new guys, no-namers, that are off the ball 10 yards ahead of Odell. Odell does not have the spring. His excuse is a hernia. But is it really a hernia, or is it because you don't have the spring you used to have? So here's another guy who's acting like the 6th grader instead of the 8th grader he was. Jarvis is the only guy in the wide receiving ring that you can't say a darn thing. He's delivering. Baker is being surpassed by the 2 other quarterbacks in his class. When you've got the Jets quarterback, Darnold, and you've got Lamar putting you in the dust. Do I need to repeat this one more time? The Jets quarterback is putting him to shame. That's a problem, my guy. So here's another 8th grader acting like you were the first round draft pick. You were the Heisman Trophy winner. You're being surpassed by a guy who missed a game because of mono. You are losing to the Jets quarterback, and you're losing to the RG3 of your class, who will bust a knee in the next 3 years, but until then, he'll be the best quarterback in the league. The pieces, Myles Garrett, you're not even on the field anymore. You're the 8th grader who's standing on the sidelines watching. So it's not that we were competitive and it was just a letdown. It's should have been lights out and you didn't even show up. So I think it's the expectations. I think the media wants. There's this perception right now, especially in Cleveland, that the media created this. The media. No! You were the 8th graders against the 6th graders. No one created this. You guys were the better team. You fell apart at the seams. So I guess it's more upsetting. It's a conversation. It gets me excited because the pieces are there. This isn't another year of like, rebuild. We need to start from the... No! We're here! We just need to fix it. And so, again, you got a hole in the wall, you need to repair the window, you got a squeaky door. Ignoring those things are only going to make more things fall apart. The pieces are here, we've got a house. Now fix the door, fix the squeaky door, repair the window, fix the wall. And I think it gets you more passionate because we want to ignore the wall. There's no hole. The media said that the wall was going to be perfect, and it's not. It's like, well, the wall's supposed to be perfect. And because I had an 0-16 team doesn't mean I shouldn't expect a perfect wall. Because every other team's got a perfect wall. Or tries to, at least. So, I don't know. You made some great points. I 100% agree with you. And I know that I can be overcritical of Baker. But I think that's what we should want. Being complacent right now is not healthy.
We feel let down.
Yes. And that's why we get to be excited for another year. Now spend all your draft picks, Mr. Dorsey, on a line, and then we don't have this conversation again.
There's always next year.
Our positions are the most important. Understand that. Respect your linemen. That's why Drew Brees buys $100,000 footballs for his linemen, and that's why Lamar bought all of his linemen Rolexes for Christmas. We're important. Know that.
We eat a lot.
Yeah, we had a lot of football talk, man. A lot of football talk.
Put us together. That's all we can do.
Just really, really quick. We're going to hit this last one really quick. But last article was exclusive. FBI investigating British socialite and others who facilitated Epstein. All that means is there's more people. Okay, we were talking about this at dinner with my family that, clearly the Clintons, the Trumps, and other people who... Do you know who was on the flight logs to Epstein's Island with Clinton? So Clinton was on there. He went there over 20 times. Bill Murray was taking flights with Epstein to his island. Totally changed my perception of that guy. Totally. One of my next podcasts, I want to just break down all of his flight logs and just acknowledge all the people that went to this thing who have a horse in the race of making him suicide himself. But amongst them is also the royal family. So that's why British socialite. But I'm going to put the article up. You guys can check it out. Again, we don't need to go into a deep dive in this because we all know the dude didn't kill himself, and the Bilderberg Illuminati crew that are running our government or our entire existence had a hand in this. We all know it. So let's get to, Steve, I want to hear your thoughts, and I'm just going to give you a quick breakdown of my notes. But Donald Trump has not been impeached yet, but is in the process of being impeached. He will not be impeached until whack job Nancy Pelosi, my president's words, not mine, gives over the articles of impeachment to the Senate. She won't give them to the Senate because she knows she's going to look like a total fool.
Is she withholding documents now?
Oh, is that a... What? What? But yes, so he is in the process of being impeached. We want to have a discussion on the debates, the impeachment hearing, or the hearing, that hasn't happened. The articles of impeachment, the debate, and kind of going from here. So, Steve, you said you were watching with your mom. Then you flipped into CNN. Kind of give me your thoughts, and we'll go from there.
I'm not a big politics person. You know that. But in my opinion, I have common sense, and I can just look at something and listen and understand it for the most part, and then go, okay, I can understand what we were just talking about. So we're watching this, and I'm watching it like all week. Just like I get home, I put it on, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And every single time it's like, you have the Democrats going, and I hate the fact it's like, oh, we have the Democrats, we have the Republicans. Like, it's just like, why does it have to be one or the other? Like, you can tell that something's starting to be pushed here, that something's not right, and someone doesn't, like, the Democrats, for whatever's going on, doesn't like it. And maybe the Republicans, whatever Trump's doing, they like it, so that's why they want it. But I don't hear the Republicans saying, oh, no, we want Donald Trump to still be here because he's doing so great. They're just saying, the Democrats are going, yes, we have this article that's so detrimental that's putting Donald Trump to impeachment. He did this. Okay, what's it say? Oh, it's a call log. Oh, okay. Well, what's the call log of? Oh, it's of someone who talked to someone who talked to someone. What was said on it? Oh, they said that Donald Trump said to this person that said that person. And it's just like, okay. So then they got like this one guy there, and they're going, all right, so Donald Trump said this, and it's like, oh, wow, this is really intense. Like, I can't believe he would actually do this. Then you have the Republican guy go, hey, so you, have you ever met Donald Trump? No. Have you ever spoken to Donald Trump? Email or anything? No. No, absolutely no. So, you never had contact with Donald Trump. You don't know Donald Trump. Yet you're the one that's bringing in all this information that's saying he's
This is the Ukraine ambassador, by the way.
Is that who this was?
This was the ambassador for Ukraine.
Yeah. So they're doing this, and then they go, all right, your 2 minutes are up. Let's hear from someone else. Oh, Democrat. So you're saying that Donald Trump did this? Yes. Well, I can't speak for him because I don't actually know him, but I heard. Well, I heard the Browns were going to be undefeated this year. Yeah. Like, it's just stuff. Like, so, long story short, you have all this going back and forth. So then there's the day where, like, there's a document or article that's incriminating Donald Trump for impeachment. Like,
the transcript.
The transcript. This is huge. I'm, like, watching this at work. I'm like, can't wait to go home and see this. So I go home, I'm watching this. I'm waiting for someone to read something that says, Trump goes, I did this for personal gain. I'm a bad president. Like, something like along those lines, close to it or something.
I'm a bad president.
Like, I don't know.
Sad.
Hashtag, because tweeting. But I'm just like sitting there, I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'm waiting for this incriminating evidence, and I'm like, okay, so that's close, but that's not what it actually is. That's still, you're inferring, and that's what I keep hearing. Oh, we can use our common knowledge to infer that Donald Trump did this. Well, you don't know that. No one really does. And I'm just like sitting here like, okay. So then, it ends and CNN pops up. Trump to be impeached. Proven with the statement or whatever.
Right, the transcript.
With the transcript. I'm just like, I look over at my mother and I'm like, what? And they're talking about this. I'm like, did I miss it? Dude. I just watched it. Like, and to me, it's just like, you can just tell, like, everyone always talks about how you can't believe the media. I'm just like looking at it, I was like, wow, I'm never watching CNN. Like, whether they tell the truth or not, after seeing that, you just set the precedent that I cannot.
That I can't trust you.
And it's just like, okay, well, if I'm going to see something now, I'm going to have to read it. I'm going to have to go up. I'm like, all right, let me get 5 sources. Like, it can't be 2 sources. Can't be 3 sources. Like, hey, like Colgate, the dental toothpaste, they have 9 out of 10 dentists. Like, you at least have to go 10, I guess. Like,
and even one dentist is still holding out on them. So,
right. But then you come to the voting.
Yeah.
And granted, I didn't watch the vote because it's taking too long. Because the whole entire thing takes too long. Like, if you have the evidence, show the evidence, right? But no, it's this huge debacle. So I understand there's a process to things. But, shoot, what was I just saying?
So we were talking about the votes.
Yeah, it comes down to the majority of the Democrats, how you were saying, voted to impeach, and majority of all the Republicans said no. Except, like, one, like, said, I'm just present. Like, okay, you're not voting. Why? Like, isn't that your whole job? But I understand you don't want to vote. But to my thing is, how can a president be impeached if it's just one party compared to the other? So that's why I'm excited that we got the Senate that, like, oh, President Trump's impeached. As we were saying, like, when we first started, that's all over CNN. President Trump impeached. Next day, I'm signing a bill for $738 billion.
$1 billion
like,
for the military.
I'm just like, oh, yeah, he's definitely impeached. Like, that's totally, like, you're creating this for people who aren't going to look up or care enough to look.
Bingo.
And go, okay, cool. So, and then, like, everyone's talking about how this is going to damage him for the presidential election. Like, well...
No, it's only going to secure his presidency.
Like, the only thing that this is doing to me is proving that that's what they're attempting to do, because I don't see any real evidence from my knowledge. It's just like the Democrats, for the most part, are saying, let's assume this, and the Republicans are saying, can you just show us evidence and then we can talk?
Right.
Like, that's all I ever heard, and it was literally like a dog chasing its tail through that whole entire process.
Oh, 100%.
And like I said, I don't know that much about politics. I'm just talking about from what I saw. And it was just like, you guys are you're asking a question and then it's just like not getting answered. It's just being danced around. Oh, my favorite part was when the one representative was asking a guy, so in your opinion, do you believe that Donald Trump did this? He goes, I can't give my opinion on what type of person Donald Trump is or something. Like, I can't speak to that point. Well, what do you believe? Well, I can't tell you that because it's not really it's like not a real talking point. Like, I can't give my opinion because I don't have the grounds to say that.
Right.
He goes, I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm asking for your beliefs. I remember calling you and talking to you about this. I'm like, what exactly is the difference? Like, when I think of beliefs, I sort of think of, like, the way you live.
Right.
When I think of your opinion, that's your thoughts on something. So, like, it's just...
They're one and the same.
Like, you're trying to get an answer out of him clearly, and he's clearly telling you can't give it to him because you know he's going to say what you want, but he knows that it's not actually valid.
Right.
So...
Oh, you're 100% right. Okay, so... Basically, this is what I see, is you have, rewinding the clock, Obama administration starves Ukraine of their resources. So the largest oil company in Ukraine, would hire Biden's son to run their oil company with no oil experience, by the way, and also be a part of their committee, their government committee. So now this dude has political influence in Ukraine and is making boko bucks. Again, this is just taking a page out of the Clintons' book on ways to the Clinton Foundation, which is one of the biggest single entities in the world, richest entities in the world. This is them being able to pad their own pockets with their political influence. Now, what is Trump being in trouble for? Trump is in trouble for using his political influence for personal gain. Now, what did Trump try to do? Trump, in the transcript that they are trying, 2 articles that they have gotten him on: abuse of power, obstruction of Congress. What they're getting him with is a transcript phone call where he goes, on the phone to the president of Ukraine. I don't have it verbatim, but it is a conversation pertaining to our politics. They go, we want to buy X amount of nuclear warheads from America. We want to buy a bunch of military equipment. Great for us. That's part of our industry. That's some of the ways we make our biggest dollars. Trump goes, that's great, but I got to ask a favor of you. Now, this is the one thing, again, I'm sitting there listening to these debates for hours. Each side had 5 hours to talk, and I'm hanging on every word, waiting to hear, again, this is the lawyer in me. Give me the rule that is being violated and the facts you're trying to say. This is where that rule was violated. I'm hanging on every word. And what comes out? They say, we have this transcript. Again, we're not going to tell you the rule. There's no rule. We're actually trying to make a quasi-rule, pulling out of thin air. We just think the executive branch shouldn't be able to do this. This is an obstruction or an abuse of power. Again. So what does the transcript freaking say? They go to the transcript. The transcript says, we want to buy these nuclear warheads or drones or whatever it was. Trump goes, that's great. I just have a favor to ask of you. Again, Trump language. So is it the prettiest? No. That's fine. I just have a favor to ask of you. Can you talk to my attorney general? He's got a couple questions for you. We have some concerns about prior business dealings. The attorney general meets with Ukraine. We all know now to find out how this kid of the Bidens got this position. That's really what it is. And they're saying, you wanted to know this so you could use it to your advantage of your campaign. Why would it be advantageous if it wasn't a problem? Okay. So we're going to sit here and say that the president should not have the power in giving resources to say, I also have a favor to ask of you. I just want to know what happened in a prior business dealing. If that shouldn't be within the president's power, then we shouldn't have a president. We should just have Congress making all the decisions for us, because that's the executive. I'm just so confused why Obama's allowed to go, the billions of dollars of resources that we give this country in a deal we have, shut it down. Shut it down until they hire our vice president's son. That's not an abuse of power, but just trying to figure out what happened in that situation is? I guess I'm missing something. So when we talk about the actual debate, the most aggravating thing is these people are supposed to be our representatives. They convince themselves in padding their pockets and being career politicians only worried about the next campaign that they actually give a crap about us, the regular citizen, and our day-to-day life, which is a total sham. But if they truly did, when they're all sitting in the room, why wouldn't one guy, one House representative go, hey guys, we're all here. We got everybody here. We've got all the evidence. Why don't we break this down? Why don't we try to get to the facts of the matter? So let's get to what was actually talked about in the debate. So again, it was such a grand waste of time. It was a grand waste of everybody's time. The viewers' time, our tax dollars, this whole joke, it became a sham. But it was just a consistent repetition of nothing there was no deliberation on the actual facts. So the Republican judiciary emphasized 4 facts. And again, this is the debater in me, but I loved that this guy, Doug Collins, I love this guy. I'm not a big fan of Georgia, but I was telling Steve, I'll move to Georgia just to cast this guy my vote because I think he was the best person in that room. And again, I get painted out as a Republican. I'm not a Republican. I am in the middle. I think they both are terrible, but this guy was incredible. He kept going, 4 facts, and the Democrats didn't want to acknowledge any of them. He's like, here is what we should be talking about. The Dems say there was no obstruction, there is no evidence, the Democrats are offering us no contention, and the president isn't allowed to bring in his own witnesses and put upon his own test. Trump wanted to testify. because the Democrats were in charge of this debate, he wasn't allowed to bring in a witness, present his own evidence, and testify on his own behalf. Again, 4 points, not one's addressed by the Democrats. And again, it keep coming back to him. He goes, 4 points, guys. 4 points, just asking you to address maybe one.
Judge, jury, executioner, not letting Trump even talk.
Bingo. And now we won't hand over the impeachment papers. But this is what I heard. And it was funny when my dad flew down to Florida to finally catch up to us. He was reading all these articles and they made the same comments I did. If you want, again, all these people that have an opinion, an ignorant opinion at that, because they don't know what the hell's going on, but the ignorant opinion is because they don't watch these debates. If you were to sit there and put in the time, like you did with your mom, and you see the hours of nonsense, you'd catch the repetition of nonsense. All I kept hearing was, I want history to say that I stood for the Constitution. Or, when my granddaughter or niece or nephew or grandchild comes up to me and asks where I was on this side of history, I will say that I stood against Trump. Their whole conversation was about their grandchildren. Like, nobody wanted to, again, that's cute, fun. You got to have your little Anne Frank monologue and do your play. But at the end of the day, you gave us nothing to work with. And these are the 3 things you can be impeached for: treason, bribery, high crimes. None of those apply to calling Ukraine and asking what happened. Again, I'm saying, I'm putting words in the Trump administration's mouth because their argument is going to be that they never even made that phone call. They're going to say that that was not, that the phone calls being taken out of context, that it was just global politics, this, that, and the other thing, and that it was never necessarily said like, well, I want to know what happened here. Because that conversation had off a transcript behind closed doors. But we know it happened. We know it happened. So again, treason, bribery, high crimes. This wasn't bribery. He wasn't bribing Ukraine. If anything, I think holding back billions of dollars until you hire my son is bribery. It's also not blackmail, but it's quid pro quo, and that's a high crime. But again, Obama administration isn't up for. And how's it treason? How is that treason against the American public to go? The billions of dollars that we're taking from everybody's taxes, when half your check is taken from you. We just want to know where it's going and how it's being used. I'm just confused on how that's treasonous. But anyway, I'll get to my last quote. But no one was discussing the law itself. There were clearly 2 narratives. It was so creepy, dude. It was 2 conversations being had amongst themselves. It wasn't even like, okay, me and you had a legitimate conversation and debate about Baker. We both have 2 different perspectives and opinions on the guy, but we had a conversation about the same thing in real time. These people were having 2 different conversations. These are 4 points I need you to address. My grandson's gonna ask me what I did today, and I voted against Trump. Okay. So then, I was watching this at the time before voting and everything. I was for impeachment because at the end of the day, I don't like the executive branch. After learning about administrative law, I would love to move the goalpost and dude, if we could have a new president every month, there are 350 million of us in this tribe. There should be a new president every month, in my opinion. They would never get anything done. No. Nothing gets done because of Congress, because it's literally split into 2 different colors. That's why nothing gets done, not because of the executive branch. So for me, I was for impeachment. Keep the president on their toes, really make it easy for them to be, and plus, I don't like kind of the environment and climate that is created with a Trump president. So I was totally okay with it until, like you said, you're watching this and going, this is asinine. This is nuts. And now you are making people so entrenched that you make me, somebody who voted for Trump, was planning on never voting for Trump again. In fact, wanted to vote for Tulsi Gabbard, but because she hates the Clinton machine, you won't let her be your candidate. Now you've got me wanting to vote Trump again. So somebody who is ready and willing to go Democrat and bring in our female president who isn't a war criminal and part of the Illuminati, you took her away from me and you really make me want to go back to this orange guy again. And finally, the Dems keep saying abuse of power, coerce Ukraine for personal gain. This is an urgent threat to national security, and they want to defend the Constitution. But they totally lose sight of the actual offense. Like, okay, I totally agree with you. If at any point you see, a threat to national security or a violation of the Constitution, I'll be the first one next to you to go, get out of here, baby. But you can't even present that to me because it doesn't exist. So it's like a bull with the red flag. You want to be like, yeah, you're going to hit it, whoa! But there's nothing there. There's nothing. You're creating something out of nothing. And finally, the Republicans kept saying the Dems have been on a crusade since the day Trump was elected, and they had a list of every attempt every senator did. Like, every senator that had their 2 minutes of fame had at some point before this actual occurrence, the call itself, they were proactively trying to get him. And this isn't, witch hunt, crazy, dumb language that you hear on Twitter. They listed literal instances where a representative is like, I'm going to get him at all costs. You can't be saying that if you're a representative. Or you can't actually do policy that furthers that. And the final quote I want to end on, because this stood out to me the most. And again, I think this was the most important thing of the impeachment debate. No one is above the law, and we agree. But why won't they say what the law that is being violated is? And if that doesn't highlight what the impeachment was, I don't know what else does. And the fact that Nancy Pelosi is shaking in her boots, knowing she can't give this to the Senate because it'll make her out to be a fool. And again, what are we hearing? Well, if it doesn't pass the Senate, it's because of the biased Republicans. They are controlling the Senate, and they're going to stop it because of blah, blah, blah. Going back to the votes. You said all the Republicans voted this way, all the Democrats voted this way, and it was a clear divide. But you know what spoke to me the most, Steve? All the Republicans voted no. 99% of the Democrats voted yes. 2 Democrats did not vote yes. And so, hi, Allison. So 2 Democrats, those 2 people speak to me the most. Because while the vast majority of Congress who doesn't care about the will of the people or law, facts of the matter, 2 people did. 2 people went against their party, are being backlash, are having their state calling for their resignation because of what was right. Those 2 people stood out to me more than anybody else. 2 Democrats go, this is the facts of the matter. I personally think that stands out the most.
One thing that stuck with me when you're talking there is the guy, he's listing 4 things. He's asking questions. How? What? Explain to me. And then the Democrats are going, as you're saying, I'm going to be on this side of history. Well, it sounds like someone's trying to figure out what the heck's going on, trying to get an explanation here. And you have the other people going, the Constitution, history, children. What does this world care about the most? Children. What is USA built on? Constitution. Who doesn't want to be a part of history? Bingo. People aren't going, I'm going to do this. People aren't looking at, I hope this wasn't the thought of when other presidents have been impeached. Like, I want to be on this side of history. No, they're going, yeah, this person did something wrong. Bingo. So we should impeach him. Like, the closing argument, like, let me convince you about my beliefs.
Bingo.
This is how I want to be perceived, is what I'm hearing. I want my family, I want history to view me as this. Not, this is wrong. I want to be perceived that this is how society's going to view me, is that I'm against Trump.
Bingo. 100%.
That's not a reason. That is an opinion. That is how you want to be viewed. That is how you want the public to view you.
Right.
Because someone's probably telling you this is how it should be.
Right.
And you know what? You're going to lose your support. You're going to lose your investments from other people or donations from people. Like, you look at any politician, man, do they have some nice pages on there. And every single time I click on it, oh, donate. Oh, and then this rich oil company or something like that, Well, we want to build something in Alaska, but it's on a National Geographic ground. Let's put you in. And remember how I gave you a couple $1 million so I could go earn an extra $1 billion? Yeah, help me out. So I can donate to your next one.
Bingo. So to further your point,
And that's opinionated.
But hey,
But it
again,
could be facts. You
the
don't know.
impeachment was the same day as the Democrat presidential candidate debate, and Andrew Yang was being praised. Do you know who that is? So Andrew Yang is a candidate who is running on the thing that he's really pushing for is universal basic income, which would be every American citizen gets $1,000 a month, because he believes that universal basic, at some point trucks are going to be automated, and that, the trucking industry is like the biggest employment industry, and that, people don't have the opportunity to be creative and have a flourishing life because they don't even have enough money for the essentials, and that this would give people the ability to be more creative and also flourish better in the country. Now, my biggest argument against that has always been, I'm a citizen, paying citizen in this social contract, and how about instead of you taking $40,000 from me every year, if you want to give everybody free money, just take $12,000 less. You want to give everybody $1,000, because in the bill, one of the things is everybody gets it, even those unwilling to work. Nah, I'm not okay with that. You should just take $12,000 less of my money so I can be creative, so I can go have fun, so I can go do the things you think I can't do. That's my side point. But the one thing that he was being praised for in this debate was how, you see that I'm the only minority on this stage? Well, we could stop that. This would no longer be a thing if with universal basic income, all of you. So again, that's when it cuts off. It's so cute how videos do this. But then the real statement he makes is, because the only reason there's no minorities here is because the minorities don't have money to donate to campaigns. So if I gave all of you $12,000 a year, you could donate $12,000 to our campaigns. And it's like, guys, he just wants to give you money, so you have to donate it to them. And again, Ted Cruz has really grown on me, man. I thought he was soft. I didn't like him because Trump made him out to a fool in those debates, man. He just was left out for dry. One thing I will commend this guy, and the reason I want to bring it up on this podcast is because I think this is huge. There's been a real push by citizens, because we can propose bills to Congress to either adopt for proposal or just deny us. And something that keeps reoccurring and was brought in by Ted Cruz, and he's pushing it. That's pretty crazy that a congressperson would do this. The bill is to put term limits on congresspeople, so we can't have career politicians. That term, career politician, this damning term that plagues our democracy, will be wiped away. And it's crazy that there's actually a representative that's willing to fight for this, because it's a losing cause. Nobody else is going to support you. All 350 million of the rest of us in this tribe should. But it's just miraculous that, to your exact point, the real problem here is all these people truly care about is their next election. They get elected, and it's not like, there was a movie we watched in government class in high school. I can't remember what it was called. Mr. So-and-so goes to Washington. And it was just a regular guy, gets voted into the Senate, and he's a senator. And what's great about that concept is, like, here's a regular guy, and he's just like, all right, I'm here. Let's get to work. Let's get to the brass tacks. That's nobody representing us. Not one of them is, all right, I made it. Let's get to work. It's, all right, I made it. How do we keep the wheels on this thing greased? How do we keep going? How do we make sure that the next campaign is smooth and I win? And so that whole period of time they're supposed to be representing us is spent reassuring they get to keep their job. So, to your point, long-winded, but I totally agree. And I think something that could really help us in that situation is creating term limits for these congresspeople.
Yeah. I mean, like, when you think about that, it's like, okay, you can be a congressman your entire life. Well, you have to keep getting reelected, to your point. Well, how are you going to keep continuing to get elected? Well, people you're going up against, you don't want to step on their toes.
Right.
Because then they're just going to, well, guess what this guy did? Like, I hate that under stuff. Like, you know, let me just throw this random story out there to bring them down so I can get elevated.
Right.
We have a cap for the president, so why don't we have a cap for the Senate or the House of Representatives?
I completely agree.
Like, I don't know, like, it's just like, okay, so the guy who's the face, who we have these checks and balances with, has to change every two, whatever. But you have Congress, who is supposed to check him, who can be there forever.
Oh, yeah, dude.
So, what's the purpose of the president? Like, you could just have a president forever then. Like, for, like, 12 years, you know, like, what was it, Freddie, or what's the president with the longest term?
Oh, it wasn't Roosevelt, was it? I think it was. Franklin Roosevelt.
Yep, Roosevelt. I think of Freddie Kitchens.
Freddie Kitchens. His term's been too long. Limit his terms.
But no, just like if we're going to limit a president, like, then you should limit the people who are below him so you get fresh new opinions. Like, I won't go too much in depth in this, but like, it's generational. Like, everything's changing generational. Like, socially, this is acceptable. So, like, you know, like, people change over time, so they're socially acceptable. Like, just just allow other people to get in there because, hey, you did a great job. Now be an advisor.
Or how about this? I'm going to take it one step further. You're so right in that we don't even just need it in Congress. What's the other check on that balance, my guy? The judicial branch. And the Supreme Court, in my opinion, is if you are a Supreme Court member, that's one of 9. I personally feel that one person is stronger than any congressman or any president. Because they, amongst 9, so they have 1/9 of a power, but it's their colleagues. All they got to do is propose their argument and debate amongst them. That decision immediately creates law and immediately affects the lives of millions. And the most problematic thing is you've got literally a court. You ever seen Keeper of the Crypt? When we were kids, it was like a AMC movie channel. Here's a picture of it. I'm going to put him on there because that is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This person is being held alive by machines and everything else because she refuses to step down. And the only thing that's going to take her off that chair is death, because heaven forbid Trump pick one more Supreme Court justice. He's already picked 2, and that's more than Obama ever could. But heaven forbid he pick one more. This woman, there's no world she knows the ins and outs of the internet, social media, and the way our cell phones. Like, she has to be so untethered from this new reality. And there's no way of taking her off the bench unless she does. Unless she does, or God himself saves us and takes her away for us. That's a problem. I think, but why do they do that? They made it so that the Supreme Court never has term limits, because that position is so sacred, we don't want them to have to worry about a campaign. So in and of itself, that's conceding that any type of term makes you consumed with your campaign more than anything. So again, that concedes the flaw of Congress, but it also damns us with somebody who has no relation to the new world. I think they should be shut. Do you understand? I need to emphasize something that you and I, as the human capacity, can't understand. We understand what a million looks like in terms of digits. It is 9 digits away. That's 1 million. We can't comprehend what 1 million things look like. If I had 1 million water bottles, you couldn't comprehend that. Like, in my head, if I go, picture 3. 1, 2, 3. Picture 50. You could conjure up a concept. 1 million, and then even furthermore, 1 billion, is such a large number, the human capacity can't understand it. We have 350 million people. We're going to pretend like we're only 200 Harvard grads from 200 years ago are competent and capable? I talk to so many. I love this podcast because you get to have real conversations, long-form conversations with real people. And you learn that losing faith in society is a real damning downfall, because there's some real competent people that are just a banker, or just, a construction worker, or an engineer. And those are the people that understand the day-to-day, understand the needs of the people. These other people, these millionaires that concern themselves with nothing but siphoning money from corporations so they can get reelected, have no idea, nor do they care about the livelihood of the regular man. And so I just can't emphasize, we are a tribe that is being divided with this wedge of politics: liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican.
Let's label it.
Racist or progressive. Regardless, it's become a team game. And the real shame to that is we have so many more people. Hillary Clinton, I refuse to, literally almost as many war crimes as Obama, but on the books, because this woman's killing everybody around the corner. She has backdoor deals globally that we can't even fathom the corruption with this person. I refuse to vote for her. You refuse to have a woman president. You are a bigot. You are sexist. No, it's this woman is not she's not capable. I refuse to vote for her. But man, if some of those girls in my law school, I'd cast a vote for them yesterday.
My big thing with that is, like, to your point, like, oh, I don't want to vote for Hillary. Okay, you don't know. No one knows the reason why unless you tell them. But you're sexist.
Bingo.
Okay, well, how about this? Why does everything have to be like, you're this? Like, we
symbolic
as
voting.
Humans,
Democrats rely on symbolic voting.
We as humans want to label it, because if we label it, we can understand it. I hate labels. I think the point of them is to just make you feel like you're obligated to do something.
Yes.
Like,
if you don't vote for Obama, you're an Uncle Tom.
Right. Like, to me, it's just like, why can't we just all understand that we have different opinions? Otherwise, why don't we go back to the Crusades where, hey, we're Christians and we're going to go take back the homeland because we're different, we have different beliefs. And it's just like, we have different beliefs, okay, accept it.
Right.
Like, just because say someone is a banker and then this person is an accountant, and it's like, oh, we don't like bankers because they mess up our stuff. And the banker's like, oh, you're accountant, so you're messing up like this by trying to do this for your person. Well, why you gotta label it? Like, we don't like you, we don't like this. It's like comes back to that old story, Romeo and Juliet, where you got those people who don't like these people, and these people don't like those people. You got the two people who go, oh, you know what? You're actually just another human being with your own opinions. Let's be friends.
100%.
Why do you have to... I'm not friends with you because you're a Democrat.
That's the sad... Because it's become a team game.
I'm not friends with you because you have an opinion different than mine. Like, no, just accept and understand, like, okay, well, why can't you have a conversation about politics? Because people can't accept that we have different opinions and just accept that. It has to be, like with the Baker thing. We talked about that for a little bit. Like, I'm fine with your opinion, you're fine with my opinion, and we are able to move past it. But then you got people that are going out, and they're going to have these conversations, and they're getting up, and they're like, you're wrong.
I'm never talking to you again, I'm deleting you on Facebook, everything else.
Like, you don't understand what I've been through. Well, okay, well, I don't. Why don't you tell me? Let's talk about it. Why don't you try and talk to me about it rather than, oh, you're a terrible person. Like, no, I have my own opinions. You don't know me.
Right.
Like,
No, I completely agree. And here's the even sadder part, taking a step further. When it comes time for you to decide, you have to decide at some point, either casting a vote or having these types of conversations, what team are you on? Are you team red or are you team blue? And when it comes time to picking those, when you pick Democrat, well, when you pick Democrat, you pick a whole list of policies. You check pro-abortion, pro-climate change, pro-taking everybody's guns, and a whole list of things. My question is, how are all of these issues, all of these super complex issues, where you and I can sit down and have a conversation for hours on each one of them, how are all of these issues binary, where my opinion on gun rights dictates my opinion on climate change, dictates my opinion on abortion, dictates my opinion on immigration? I'm not a binary person. And so what are you stuck doing in this American society? You're stuck prioritizing what truly matters to you. I'm a Democrat because my dad was deported. I am anti our immigration law. I'm a Democrat. You know what? I think gun rights is more important than everything. I'm a Republican. So now you've got to put other issues that you care about on the back burner for the ones that you truly, truly care about. And then you do that long enough that the other opinions assimilate. And now you're a binary robot. It doesn't fit the human experience.
so it's also interesting, like, as I was thinking about this, as you were talking, I'm thinking, okay, so let's just get rid of Democrats and Republicans, right? Like, just stop labeling people. Who cares? So we have a certain system in place for Republicans and Democrats for the Senate and the House of Reps. Well, if we didn't have this system in place where we have Republicans and Democrats, maybe the Democrats would be the only thing in Congress. And we would I wouldn't say be screwed, but then you don't have that other opinion.
Right.
So, as much as I hate it, it's serving a purpose in this scenario.
But the real scenario should be, remember that the writer of the Constitution said a bipartisan system would be a detriment to this system I created. The whole concept was not supposed to be a room of blue or a room that's half blue and half red. It's supposed to be going to the LGBT, LMXY, and Z. It should be a rainbow. Everybody should be their own individual. The whole point is to have 200 people in a room that are... Okay, why do we have the Electoral College? The Electoral College is there because we can't have people in California telling people in Texas and Ohio how to live their life. Just like we shouldn't be telling them how to live their life. That's the beauty of this. Because when you go, it's great. When you've traveled a lot, when you go to Peru, you go to these other countries and you recognize, whoa, Toto, I ain't in Kansas anymore. What's so beautiful about this country is truly somebody from another country comes to us and visits and they get a flavor of all the different states. They go, holy cow. Every state is like its own country. That's the beauty of this place that I think we lose sight of in this blue-red team game, is that we are all so different. Pennsylvania's right next door. I will never live another day there in my life because of how nutso they are. They can't drive. Their policies are wacko. Dude, I can't stand Pennsylvania. That's right next door.
And then the people who grew up in Pennsylvania
can't stand us.
Ohio is nuts in that they can't do it.
And that's the beauty.
And that's the perspective of it.
So I want a Congress that isn't all blue, that isn't half red, half blue. I want yellow, red, orange, black, gray, magenta, lavender. Throw it all in there and be true to yourself. We lose the be true to yourself when... Oh my God! I gotta worry about the next election. I gotta worry about I gotta be here next year. If I'm not here next year, then I'm a failure. So they don't stay true to themselves. They stay true to what's gonna keep them there, or the corporation that's giving them money. 9 people die of e-cigarettes on the black market, and those are a problem. 8 million people die a year of cigarettes, but it's because we don't have a e-cigarette lobbying conglomerate controlling our government. The biggest conglomerate, or the biggest lobbying group in our Congress is the tobacco company. Go figure. So the other thing that they have to, they don't care what Billy in Brecksville votes for. They care about who's funding the campaign that advertises their ability to get back there. So our concerns are nowhere in sight.
I just think it's hilarious how we grew up being told that we're going to be the generation that ends people smoking cigarettes, and then they come out with the Juul. Hey, we can make it easier for you.
But isn't it funny that, like, I think, just like Tide Pods, I think that's a testament to the internet more than anything.
Why was that a thing?
Why was that a thing? Who knows? All right, that was a great conversation, Steve. I truly loved it. We went long and hefty. We talked a lot about football, and we talked a lot about the impeachment. So let's just quickly wrap this up with just some final thoughts. Bringing in the new year, it's the 27th. This will probably come out like 2 or 3 days before New Year's, so probably like the 29th or the 30th. But Steve sent me a text in coming into the 2020 for some things to consider, and I think it's a nice thing for all of us to reflect upon as we prepare to approach a whole new decade. When we have these conversations about the impeachment, politics, this hate that's being fueled into our new society, the things we need to consider is, like, what is life? Who are the people you love and trust in life? What is worth living for? And what makes it worth it? And the other question is, what makes you happy? So I think that would be a great place to start this conversation. And Steve, I guess asking you kind of, what are your thoughts in approaching those questions? What is life? Who are the people you love and trust in life? What is worth living for, and what makes it worth living it?
So,
or makes it worth it?
This is something that, like, really came to me probably this summer. I got out of college, like, hey, now you're an adult, truly an adult, do whatever you want, find a job. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get a job. And then I got a job. And then I was like, okay, I want a better job. Because to me, I'm better than this job in my opinion. So I got to this job. And then I'm working this job, and I'm loving it. And I'm able to help people. That's what I discovered that I really enjoy doing. I've always wanted to help people, make people happy. So I'm doing this. I'm a banker. And it just gets to a point where you're like, okay, this is a little bit of sales too. Well, I don't want to sell someone a mortgage or a refinance when they don't need it. So it's like, I'm really good at my job because I know what people want, so I get them things. And it's like, why didn't you get them more? Because they didn't need it. So then I'm just like, this is not making me happy. Like, I don't want to put people in a situation where I'm only benefiting from it.
Right.
So I'm like, I'll go and I'll be an insurance adjuster. So I'm an insurance adjuster. I'm like, okay, people are going to get car accidents. I'm going to help them get out of this and be better and fix their car up, essentially, when they're in a time of crisis. Well, it turned into, well, you can't prove to me that you weren't at fault for this. So it became like a huge debate going back and forth with people like, you got to prove that our driver caused the accident, not yours. And it's like, wow, this is even worse. Like, all I wanted to do was help people. And, like, I'm just like, okay, well, I can do this. This is a good job. I'm making really good money. I can do this. And it just got to a point, I was like, I'm not happy. Why am I not happy? Well, I'll spend time with my friends and family. That makes me happy. So then I'm spending all this time with my friends and family. But I'm not enjoying my job that I do 40 hours a week at. And more. And it's like, okay, well, I'm making money, though, so I should be happy. Well, what the heck is the point of this if I don't get to see my friends and family? I only get to see my friends and family for 2 hours a day, and then it's time for bed.
Right.
But then I get the weekend. But I'm already so mentally exhausted from working during the week that all I want to do is sit and relax.
Right.
So what actually matters in life? What makes me happy? The thing that I'm spending the majority of my days doing? No. Like, all I'm doing is just trying to put money in my pocket.
Right.
And I'm just not happy, so I came to the point where I'm, like, asking myself, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? What's going to make me happy? What do I want? Well, I wanted to help people, clearly. I want to spend time with my friends and family. And I didn't want to do things just to earn money. I wanted to do something that made me happy. So when I go home at the end of the day, I'm not exhausted from doing something I don't want to do.
Right.
I'm like, I had a great day today. So wake up and make a change. I'm blessed enough to be able to, I had enough money saved up, dropped it, and I'm back and I'm going to school counseling.
Right.
And I'm going to be able to help people. I work in a school now. Love it. Every single day of it.
That's
I'm
great.
Actually on Christmas break right now. And I am missing work. Can't believe I'm saying that. But I'm missing work because I enjoy what I do.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, coming back to this question, what makes you happy? What was everything else? What makes you happy? What's going to help you be the best person you're going to be? And a lot of people get put in situations where they're just down in the dumps and they just do this reoccurring I just got to do this to live. Like, think about what makes you happy. Like, when they say, like, do something that makes you happy and you don't work a day in your life, like, no, you're going to work a day in your life. You're not going to love everything you do. But you have to be proud of what you do and happy for what you're doing it and why you're doing it. Man. What is your why?
That's a great statement. That should be like a mantra. For real, though. What's great about what you proposed here is that this is something for the listener themselves to kind of reflect upon. You know, this is a mental exercise for the listener or yourself. I think it speaks to me because, like, law school. What's so funny is every lawyer I ever spoke to, I'm going to go to law school. I'm getting ready for it. Every lawyer said, don't do it. And I was telling my mom, like, I'm going to do the same thing. This is the worst thing. I can't imagine a hell worse than law school. It's just like, I wouldn't wish this upon my enemy. And it's so miserable that you lose sight of, like, why you're here. As somebody who's in grade school, you know, I'll never forget Steve. I'm not going to say his last name, but a kid in high school, he was always like, you will, not you, but
right.
He was like, you will be my lawyer growing up. And he got called into the principal's office, and I advocated on his behalf, and, you know, the principal just kind of let the charade go. I mean, this was something I've wanted forever, and here I am, like, I wouldn't wish this upon my enemy. I don't want to do it. Now, being a semester away from being done with this stuff, it's slowly coming back. That passion of, like, you know, getting to spend the summer in the courthouse with the judge. It's like, I'm great at this. You know, everybody, there was a counter that I had to work sometimes to, like, how can we help you? They would rave, like, oh, there's nobody that would work with these people. I mean, they were always crass to the people because they're all idiots. But, like, I'm just so, not to sit here and just, like, be a baker, but, like, it felt so right. And it's so nice that, like, that passion is coming back because you lose sight of that it's like, this isn't it. This is not it. I don't want to work till 2 a.m. for free, for nothing, doing stuff I don't like. You know, I'm sorry. Family law was great at it. I don't want to talk about divorces and kids and blah, just would be miserable. Sports law, I was amazing at. There's nowhere to do that. But then when you've got business organizations, I pooped the bed. That was miserable. That was so not me. And so you're caught up in, like, I don't like this. This isn't me. And so you lose sight of it. And so it's a great point of, like, and it fits real well for this period of my life of just, like, don't lose sight of what you want out of life. And that should be your primary focus. And they always say you'll never work a day in your life if you're doing something you love. And that's the mantra you need to march forward in. We're going into a new decade. Most of these listeners are just our friends. So we're all in our mid-20s, and we're about to start life. Like, school was its own animal, and now we are about to start building families and creating professions and really building a life for ourselves that we could either be proud of or be miserable in. And when you see parents around us that just live for their kids and everything else, but they're miserable. They're miserable. Their existence is miserable. That is nothing I would crave. Like, you can't... So again, the mantra for the listener, things to think about moving into 2020. Simply put, titled, What is Life? Who are the people you love and trust in life? What is worth living for? And what makes it worth it? And finally, what makes you happy? What's funny is, having a philosophy degree, every philosopher under the sun has asked what is happiness and what makes people happy. That's an unanswerable question. I think that's the carrot at the end of the stick that keeps you running. You get endorphins, you get releases of happy, like the spurts of good feelings, and you think, I want this all the time. And that's what makes you go to work. That's what makes you want to have a family. That's what you build things, because this unobtainable fiction of full, complete happiness, I don't think truly exists. But you do need to think about, what is that carrot you're chasing after that you'll never catch, but what is worth running after? What is compelling you to keep going and motivates you to get up every day and grind? Because like you said, you should never stop grinding. You should always be working, but work in something that you enjoy and want to profit from, and in that, you'll find your happiness, your niche that you can prosper in. Any final thoughts?
No one has the answers except yourself.
Great point.
And even those, you don't know if they're right. You just got to keep moving forward with it.
I like it.
It's just how it is. I mean, there is no true answer, because your answer is different than my answer. But that's why you have friends, and that's why you have family. You trust them enough to talk to them about it, to have a discussion about it, and then hopefully they have the respect of you to give you an honest answer and then tell you, but that's just me.
Right.
Because I'm different than you. Like, we've known each other forever, but we have different answers to what we enjoy. I could never be a lawyer. That is beyond a doubt. You could probably be a counselor. It's possible. But I could probably be a lawyer too. But in my opinion, I could never be a lawyer. Because
would you flourish at your fullest potential?
Would I enjoy flourishing at my best potential? And I don't think I would, because I don't like arguing. And like, I know lawyers are a lot more than that. I love nitpicking things, but to me, this is my path and this is my answer.
Bingo.
And I'm excited to see what you do as a lawyer. I'm happy that you're getting more excited about it, because I know you were struggling with it for a little bit, as in, why am I doing this? Okay, I'm just going to go back and do it. Well,
I blame Pennsylvania.
But closing thoughts, as you said.
Yeah.
You're the one who has your answer. No one else does. People who care about you are there to help you find it.
I like that.
Not by telling you it, by just helping you through the process, by being there. So.
That's it. And so be there for your friends. That's it too. Love your fellow companion. You know, not to digress too quick as we wrap up, but dude, all the Canadians and liberals were upset over the movie The Joker because it praised a psychopath. And I think everybody missed the message. The message was, this was a man struggling and was beat down every day by his fellow companion. His neighbor screwed him every day repetitively until he broke. And so when you're on the train and you're next to a stranger, it doesn't kill you to be nice or to just not be mean. And so these things add up, and it's crazy. Again, I talk about him too much, but like, Joe Rogan was this fire animal when he was our age. This like angry, he talks about it all the time. And the dude, there's nobody more loving than that guy. And his whole mantra is to put good and love in the world. Yeah, that sounds like the 60s, the hippies, but at some point there's some reality to it. And it's like, you can never have too many friends. You can always have too many enemies. And there's no point of making more enemies. So, moving forward to Steve's point, be there for your friends. Don't be afraid to make friends. You know, if you're blue, your friend can be red. And if you're red, your friend can be blue. Hell, mix a little bit and make some purple. So, again, enjoy this new year. We have a new decade upon us. Life's about to get real. I think we're all excited for it. Steve, thank you so much for joining me and coming me on here. This was coming on me, coming onto this podcast and joining me. This was a great conversation, and I hope I get to have you on here again. Guys, as we wrap up, please, share this video if you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed our conversation, please check us out on Facebook. We have our Facebook page and we have our Twitter page. But thank you. Enjoy your new year. Wishing you and your family the best. And we'll get you on here again, Steve.
All right.
Peace.
Sounds good. Have a good day.